I'm happy to introduce this talk because it's always one of my favorites, and because I'm introducing it, I actually get to see it for once. So, it's opening ceremonies and the badge talk, and it's got Lost Boy and the Dark Tangent, and when the Dark Tangent shows up, he'll show up, but for now, here's Lost.
How many of you, this is your first DEF CON? Wow. Welcome. How many of you are here from out of the country? Wow. Thank you for coming. Give them a hand for traveling this far. So bear with us here. Jeff's on his way over. He was over at the DARPA stuff, and so we may be a little helter-skelter here. For those of you who have come to openings, how many of you have come to an opening ceremonies before? And you still came back to an opening ceremonies talk, huh? So I'm going to do something a little different this year. For those of you who don't know, I am Ryan Clark, the Lost Boy, 1057, whatever you want to call me. But I would like to start with a solemn moment, a letter of apology. Bear with me. First, an open letter of apology. To those who start working long before DEF CON starts, as it is generally frowned upon, on the badge challenge, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the misdirection. I'm especially sorry to those who go to the trouble of automating, pulling down all of the index files from my servers. I'm especially sorry for the cron job that may have been started, that appended random text and or certain strings to different files that may change the pull-down fingerprints that you were doing on the pages. I'm sorry for the extra bandwidth the day that I decided to make that run every minute. I'm sorry for ruining the hash comparisons you did to watch for clues and flags that may be put up over the time. I'm sorry to those who decided to search registrar information for domains that may have been registered as part of the contest. I'm sorry that I consistently used my Chinese name, Li Zhishang, and this time randomly switched to my Korean name, Yi Ji-sung, therefore foiling any searches for said information. I am especially sorry for when I put troll hook misdirection pages up, realizing that you weren't finding them fast enough, that your exploits were not as efficient as I believed them to be, that I then in fact changed the name on the registration back to the one that I knew you were searching for, so you would in fact find the troll page. But I would like to have a moment of reconciliation. By a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the Mystery Challenge? So a few of you. I used to run a contest at DEF CON every year called the Mystery Challenge, and everybody turn and say hi to Jeff. Hey. So he did make it. So I'm actually going to hold off on what I was about to tell you because I would like Jeff to be able to give some words first as he comes up here.
Good morning.
Dark Tangent, everybody.
Good morning. Woo! Sorry I'm late. What do you got?
Turn your back to just for a second. Unless not reveal it yet.
We're going to talk secret stuff, and we don't trust you to do like that whole 2001 lip analysis, so we're going to turn our heads away from you. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. We're going to show that thing off to you in a minute and show you what everybody's competing for Uber badges. So when do you want to reveal that?
I got a flow.
You got a whole flow?
Yeah, I wanted you to be able to do your thing first.
Okay, yeah, so my thing is just hello and welcome, and thank you for coming to our biggest conference ever. And we have some really cool shit to show you this year. We've really grown. And for those of you, how many people here, have you already done this? How many people are new?
It's a huge amount.
Huge. Oh, okay, so we can totally indoctrinate you. So the theory I've always done with DEF CON is my operating sort of principle is that I try to give space to people who want to do stuff. So if you come to me and you say, I want to do a biohacking village, I say, great, that sounds really cool. What is that? And then they explain it. And if they can convince me or some other people, Like, okay, we'll give you a shot. We'll find room for you. And if other people think it's cool, it will grow. And if other people don't think it's cool, or you can't organize it, then it collapses. And through this sort of Darwinian process, we've ended up with what we've got. And so anytime you see something new, they had to kind of run through that gauntlet, and they're trying to see if their idea will survive in this community. And if you see something disappear, it's either they've gotten burned out or they're on to something new. And what I love about this community is you see people, and they'll be doing social engineering one year, car hacking the next, they'll start a contest, they'll play in a contest, and people just keep hopping around. And sometimes people come in and apologize to me, and they'll say, you know, I'm so burned out, I don't want to do this one thing anymore. And you don't have to apologize to me. This is you. This is your contest. This is your idea. It's about you. Do what you like to do. And I'm just here to try to provide a stage. So if you're not interested in that anymore, great. Find something else you're interested in. Or just go play video games. You know, re-energize yourself. Just watch talks for a year. Just do something to get your energy back. And so I just really want it to be this like boiling cauldron of randomness, right? This entropy. And I think it's been a success because we've got so many people that come each year. And so then it's just professional cat herding. And I'm not saying you guys are cats, but you're cats. And maybe this year everybody's like a Pokemon or something. But, and apparently Pokemon are easier to catch here than over at Black Hat. I'm just saying. We have a closing ceremony, and we always make a bunch of announcements, top winning teams, and this year we're going to have some particularly interesting announcements at the closing ceremonies. Oh yeah, that's right. And then, so for those of you who don't know Lost, he is like the puzzle master for DEF CON, and he's done his own mystery challenge. He does the badge challenge that you see a lot of people competing with. He's involved in designing the Uber badges, or he designs the Uber badges. So there's a lot that he does. Well, do you want to tell the story about the software? We're going to be making an announcement we've never done before. We normally just tell you and orient you to what's going on at the con. Ask questions is one thing I always like to say. You're here to challenge the speaker. This is not meant to be sort of a passive, you receive information, active, I'm telling you the information. I really want it to be challenge the speaker. And if they're saying something you don't like or you don't agree with or you think is inaccurate, you've got to say something, right? Otherwise, you're just letting the misinformation perpetuate, and that's not cool. So just because there's a lot of you and maybe one or two speakers, that doesn't mean you have to remain quiet. You've got to get engaged. So anyway, this year, we've never announced software before, but it was such a compelling story. Lost is going to actually release a tool that was inspired that somebody had to build to try to compete in one of his contests. So I don't know if you want to tell everybody about that before we get going. Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah, so as far as I know, this is the first time in an open ceremonies talk we're going to actually release a tool. And to be fair, Jeff and a lot of people tend to give me a lot of credit. There's a lot of people involved, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of what I do would never happen if it weren't for the support of a few people, such as Echan and Squizgar, my brother Clutch, well, I'll do shout-outs in a minute. Sorry, I don't mean to forget anyone. Jeremy and Jay and everybody else. Okay, welcome to DEF CON 24. You guys seem a little quiet. Welcome to DEF CON 24. So as we started talking about when I had my open letter of apology to those who I was trolling, I'd like to finish that letter with an announcement that I didn't even tell Jeff, and he's probably going to get mad at me for saying this. But I've decided, because next year is DEF CON 25, that for one last time, I'm going to run a mystery challenge. And then I'm going to put a nail in that coffin, and it's never going to be resurrected again. So that contest ran for 5 years. It inspired what spawned into the badge challenge. How many people here have actually competed in mystery challenge before? So a few. How many people are in the badge challenge stuff because you had read about the mystery challenge stuff? So there's a few. Mystery challenge tends to be a little more hardcore. It's a little more difficult. Badge challenge is meant to be accessible to everybody. But I'd like to tell a little story. And that story is about how the badge challenge inspired one young man to produce a tool, which we will be releasing here. Unfortunately, he is not able to be in attendance and gave me permission to release the tool vicariously in his stead. So DC-19, a guy named Kevin Hoolan, who goes by Cryptic, who plays in the Badge Challenge, he decided he was going to compete and he was going to win the next year. And he joined a team, MLF, I think that's Muppet Liberation Front, I think is what that stands for. So Kevin noticed that on the back of the DEF CON 20 badge, for those of you who don't know, if you win a black badge competition at DEF CON, you get an Uber badge, which is free entrance into DEF CON for the rest of your life. But more than that, everyone always talks about that like it's some big thing. It's like, okay, so it's a couple $100 each year. Really, it's the prestige, because there's so few of these that given out. With the thousands of people that we have here, we'll give out 10, 12, maybe a year. Jeff makes that decision. But I like to do a little thing on all of the Uber badges every year. I place a cryptographic challenge to see, of the Uber people who receive these badges, who takes the time to try and break the crypto that's on the back of these each year. And I get about a 50% return. On the back of the DEF CON 20 badge is what most people would know as an OTP. Who knows what an OTP is? One-time pad. By many accounts, the only unbreakable cipher, technically, if you're handling the keys correctly and everything else. However, this was not an OTP. It was what is known as a running key cipher. And the difference between an OTP and running key is the fact that the key is a chosen text. For example, like the 5th chapter of a book, or a page in a magazine, or lyrics to a song. But the reason for that is it makes passing the key easy, because I can text Jeff and I can say, oh, just go open War and Peace and turn to this page, and then there's your key. But in so doing, because your key, your encryption text and the text you're trying to send are both from the same language, you've introduced a weakness into that cipher. And so Kevin went home and he started working on a tool to attack RKC, and that method is known as cribbing. Well, cribbing on this particular text, I actually tested for that. It doesn't really work. It's a real pain in the ass, and it doesn't produce good results. But Kevin took it a step further. He was just finishing his degree, I believe his master's, and he realized it wasn't good to just crib this, so he started doing natural language processing, the stuff you might see when you do predictive text, when you're typing, spell checkers, that kind of thing. And he started using an n-gram model to calculate probabilities based on the likelihood of events. For those of you who know what that's called, it's a 5th-order Markov assumption. So if you don't know what that is, I'd suggest you look it up because it's interesting, and this is a HackerCon. So go look that up. So he took the hidden Markov chains in the Viterbi algorithm and figured out a way to, in software, do an attack against running key cipher. And it worked. That is the back of, this is the Uber badge from last year. And then that's the crypt text that was on the back of that. Now, Kevin and his guys had access to that. And here's a little side story that's fun for you. When I got on the plane to go home, Kevin happened to be on that same plane. And I was up at the front of the plane. He was sitting further back. And I saw him as we got on the plane, and he goes, I'll have that solved by the time we get to the ground. And I was like, there's no way, it's running key. He only has his laptop. He's not going to be able to use cloud or anything like that to crunch the cycles. And when we got off the plane, he walked over and he shook my hand, and he handed me a napkin from the airplane. I still have it. And on that napkin was written the solution. And he had solved it because of his software. And he has now given me permission to give you guys the first attempt at taking his code and improving it, using it. He is releasing a tool called the RKCC, the Running Key Crypto Cracker. And you can get it at that address up there right now. He'll have it up on his site eventually. And there's a beautiful write-up and blog post. But for me, this is the pinnacle of success for what I try to do with the Badge Challenge, is to try and make people learn and grow. And now we have a new tool out of it. So there you go. Give him a hand, even though he's not here. Okay, so that's that bit of the story. So let's, oh, and by the way, I have to comment about this badge. This badge is actually not a badge that I made. This badge was presented to me right before I came up on stage. This is a forgery. And I would like you all to see how good this forgery actually is. I don't know if you can see that. So for those who weren't here last year and are curious, this badge actually has several different radioactive isotopes in it, like the glass is uranium doped, and we've got yellow cake and other stuff. And these are Lichtensphere etchings that I had to source. And I asked them because I had contacted the guy who is the last person in the United States, and I believe in the world, that makes the Lichtenstein etchings. And I said, how did you get those? Because I bought all of the ones that he had left. And they told me I guess he came out of retirement, guys, to make them for you, and then said he'll never make any more after that. So this is like one of the best forgeries that I've seen. Now, that being said, I know, Mickey, are you out there? Probably not. Mickey, who is here, also has a fake, and I want to compare the fakes. So we'll have a battle of the fake badges. But anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, this year's badge. So what do you guys think of this year's badge? Yeah. So I'm just going to kill the screen for now, if that's all right. What you're wearing around your neck is the product of many, many hours of blood, sweat, and tears, and not just from me. I could not do this without everybody. The support of Jeff and Will and all the folks on the DEF CON staff, the support of Jeremy, Jay, my brother, everyone else. So for all of the badges that you guys see that are out there right now, the artwork was actually done by my wife, and who is not in attendance. And the layout, I've also worked with some people at Intel. John, are you in the audience? Are you out there? Yeah, so back there. So worked with John and some other folks. So this couldn't be done without the help of a lot of people. So please give it, just for everyone who's had a hand in the processes, please give them a hand. I tried to make several of the pieces of the cryptographic challenge this year more lighthearted and fun, so that those of you that are just kind of the casual gamer versus the hardcore, like you may see some little glyphs on the signs out in the halls. They're actually pretty easy to solve if you take a minute and start thinking about them. You'll notice that there's text on your lanyards. That's a puzzle. You've seen some things. How many of you have looked at the math that's in the program on the second page? Yeah? How many of you put that in Wolfram Alpha already? How many of you knew that there was an XKCD comic which referenced the tool that I used to generate those equations? Did anybody realize that? How amazing is that, right? Yeah, so if you don't know about that, I'll post about it on a blog later. There's stuff on the back of the badges. I really hope that you enjoy them. I apologize for some of the when we snapped them out, some of the contact points, maybe a little bit of a pain in the butt, but we tried to move all the components to the front because we knew people in years past with the electronic badges like this one didn't like the stuff rubbing against their shirt and things like that. So we do take those kinds of things into consideration. And if you have suggestions or things, I am very accessible. Send me an email, say, hey, did you think about this? Or did you think about doing this? Because this really is a community effort, and the badge is for all of you guys. And I hope that it's a nice keepsake and thing for you to take home. Now, that being said, we have something to show you that we're only going to show you a little bit of. But before I show it to you, John and Rick, can you raise your hands? John and Rick, they're in the back, have actually, I've been working very closely with them. These badges would not have happened without them. So when you look at this, don't think, hey man, that's a cool thing Ryan built, because I don't feel like this is a group effort, especially weighing on the shoulders of Rick. For those of you who don't know, Rick and John both live in California and deal with Hollywood. You may know some of Rick's work from things in like Jurassic Park, the Spider-Man movies, and others. Rick, do you want to just stand up and wave? So, yeah. So anybody that's interested in like professional level Hollywood special effects, that's the guy. And Johnny Mack next to him is a professional actor that lives and engineer as well. So John, stand up and give a wave. You may remember him. John was actually our 1 year I had a hidden plant, and I knew John was an actor, and I said, John, can you come and act like a spy on the floor of DEF CON? And so we did some dead drops and things like that. So for the first time, what I'd like to show is a sneak peek, and not full functionality, because we want to hide that from you guys, of this year's Uber badge. So here's a look, and I got a camera right here, so I'll let you do the reveal. So hold on, let me turn on.
But wait, there's more.
More to come. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not going to so like we'll show them the back.
So there's some other stuff that's going on in there.
Just a little bit. So anyway, that's it. So I'll show you from profile. So good luck forging these, guys. So anyway,
Yeah. It'll only take them a year. They'll do it.
so that's this year's Uber badge.
Don't they tell them like how long it takes to make, how many are made, that kind of... Oh, yeah, that's true.
I challenge you with a 3D printer to reproduce that. And come to closing ceremonies, and there will be just a little bit extra that may have to do with those servos in the back, right there. Anyway, we hope you guys have a good conference. Thank you for coming out. I don't know if Jeff has any other things that he wants to say. Thank you all. If it wasn't for you guys and for the guys that compete and stuff, it's the community. This is the only reason I keep doing this. It's a huge chunk. It's all of my free time, basically, and I appreciate everybody. So this is what everybody who's competing in a contest this year is fighting for, is they want to wear, and this is actually a badge. There's a connection on the back, and you can wear it and be like Flavor Flav.
So I want to just leave you with one thought, and this is, we say it every year, so it can sound repetitive, but that doesn't mean it's any less important. And that's just that we say you get out of DEF CON what you put into it. It really is what you make of it. And the conference has gotten so large that I always assumed that there's like a natural filtration mechanism. There's just not that many people that want to get on an airplane, go to Las Vegas in the summer, spend all that money, and at some point we'll just reach that threshold. And that's it. That's how many people are interested. And every year there's more and more conferences, and InfoSec conferences and hacking conferences. And so there'll be more regional opportunities, and there'll just be less reason for you to come to Vegas. But then every year the convention grows. And so I don't know why my nose is on the screen right now. And so it's a very nice nose. I like it very much, but I don't want to share it with everybody. So I'm always astounded. There's like so many people coming in, and what are they getting out of it? And I try to ask people, and some people say, well, I'm only here for the people. I don't go to any talks. And other people say, I only go to talks. I'm not here for the people. Or I'm only here for the music and supporting my friends who are competing in this contest. And what I quickly found is that there's so many things going on. There's so many interests that you can never hope to understand. It's larger than a person. It's larger than a group of people. There's a lot of divergent interests, but we all have this sort of desire to learn. We all have these certain common themes, and so that's the themes I try to work on. And so we work really hard to try to figure out ways to get you kind of split into smaller groups so you can meet each other. Right? We bought 100 bean bags, and we're going to put them in the chill-out areas, and I know the bean bags are going to get stolen. Because, I mean, who wouldn't want to steal? I think we already stopped some of our staff from stealing them. So, so why would we do that? Well, okay, first of all, if you steal a beanbag and we catch you, you're probably going to get kicked out. But if you steal a beanbag and get away with it, I want pictures, right? So there's a little bit of a tension there, right? I want to see it on Twitter. I want to see these beanbags traveling the world. Actually, I don't, because you're not going to get away with stealing any, because we're going to be that good at stopping you. So what I want to really bring is there's this kind of fun tension here, and it is what you make of it. And I really encourage you, just go up and say hi to people. And if you run into somebody with a big ego, guess what? There's plenty of other people without big egos. I mean, Lost is super approachable. I'm approachable. Everybody is here to get something out of it, to learn, to make new connections. And so I just want to really encourage you. It's a first year. You might be a little intimidated by the size. Because as you've seen, there's a lot of other people that are here for the first time. And you can go to the parties and you can just talk to somebody, and chances are they'll talk back. And we've got it right here at the end of the hallway. We've got the Napoleon's piano bar. We've got that open. It's only for us. You should have a badge to go in there. But it's like one of our chill-out areas as close to the space as possible. And we just want you to have ways of spontaneous sort of discovery. We want you to have like an aha moment. Yeah, in his room, Nikita took all of our party favors and decorated the 1057 room. So it's sort of like a really creepy, like, party room / couches / super smart people competing on his contest. Just stop by and say hi. And with that, I'm not going to keep talking, but I want to let you guys get out a little bit early so you have a jump on everybody else. But have fun. I'll see you at the closing ceremonies, and don't forget the parties tonight. We have live bands. It's like, 8 to 2 in the morning, tonight and tomorrow night. Oh, you want to give out some super special? Okay, if you haven't caught on, there's 5 different kinds of lanyards that relate to the contest. 4 kinds of the lanyards are really common. The 5th magical lanyard that I'm wearing is white. There were only made 500 out of like 20,000. And so we have some, we're going to throw them in the audience, and then hopefully people who are competing in the contest are now going to have to hassle you, and they have a reason to talk to you. So you could be like, well, I'm not going to let you see the lanyard unless you tell me your dog's name, or some social opener that's not as awkward as that. Okay, so we're going to toss these out, and we'll see you around the con. Have a good con, everybody. Thank you.